Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Academic Professional Training. This is Mr. Amir Khalifa, and today we'll be going over Unit 3 and Unit 4 of Book 4. So let's begin with Unit 3. So today we will be talking about food, okay? Who does not love food? We all love different types of food, but let's learn what are the different types of vocabulary that we should know when dealing with food, okay? So describe the pictures. Do you see any familiar foods, or is this art, or is it just playing with food? Okay, so do you see anything familiar here? So for example here, this here's a cake, but you have a strawberry and it's made into the shape of a snake. Okay, here we have a pizza, okay, but it is shaped like the birds from Angry Birds. Have you ever played that game? It's a very good game to play. Here we have an orange that is peeled in ways to look just like a cat. And we have different animals here. And look here what's happened to a shrimp that has just become a motorcycle. Okay? So do you find this creative, or do you find this playing with food? Let's learn a little bit more about food today. Okay, so there are different ways to cook. Okay, there are different ways to cook. What we see here is that when we have our stove, we've taken the word stove before, is what we cook on, and inside the stove there is something called an oven. Okay, something called an oven. Okay, so when you place food inside an oven, so when you take food and you put it inside the oven to cook, this here is called baking. Okay, baking. Right? So the foods you bake, we bake a cake. Okay? We don't say, I will cook a cake. No. We say, we bake a cake. Okay? So we bake cakes. We bake pies. Now we even bake chicken. If you cook chicken inside the oven, that's called baked chicken. Okay? We can bake fish. Alright? These are all ways of cooking. As you see here, we bake cookies. Okay? Alright, so here we see we are baking cookies. Alright, so bake. Okay? So to cook inside an oven. Okay, now this right here is very easy as well. So what we do here is we take water, okay, we take water and we put it on top of the stove and on fire until it begins to boil. Okay, until it begins to boil. So boiling is cooking something inside hot water. So boiling is cooking something inside hot water. Okay, that's boiling. Okay? So to cook in hot water. To cook in hot water. Okay? Before we move on, so what are the type of foods that we boil? Okay? We boil eggs. Okay? We boil eggs. We also boil potatoes. We boil potatoes. Okay? Alright, what else do you think that we boil? Okay? Sometimes we boil, let's say, vegetables. Okay? We boil vegetables. And we boil chicken as well. Okay? So, boil. Okay, now this right here is something you may be aware of, and is one of Americans' favorite ways of cooking, and this here is called barbecue. Okay? Now, barbecue is when you cook foods on a grill with charcoal or wood. Okay? And usually with a tomato-based sauce. So you see the meat here? It is put into a sauce before you grill it. Okay? So it's put into a sauce, and we'll learn what that's called in just a minute. Okay? So you put it into a sauce, and then usually this is cooked on the outside. So we don't normally grill or barbecue inside the house. We barbecue outside the house. Okay? We barbecue outside the house. Okay, so this is barbecue. Okay? This right here is called to brew. Okay, to brew. Okay? Brewing is like when you make tea. Okay? You don't boil tea, you brew tea. So you take hot water, and then you place herbs inside of the hot water, and then you cover it to allow it to brew. So it can become a concentrated drink. Like the same way we brew coffee. Okay? We brew coffee. We brew tea. Okay? So brewing is the process of making tea, coffee, or similar drinks. Okay? So that's what we call brew. So you don't say, I'm boiling coffee. No. You don't say, I'm boiling tea. No. You say, I am brewing coffee, or I am brewing tea. All right? Okay. Now this right here is called fry, okay? Some people call it stir fry, okay? Now, frying is another way of cooking that's very famous all around the world, okay? It's famous all around the world. And what frying is to cook in hot oil. To cook in hot oil. So you take some oil and you pour it into your pan and you begin to cook, okay? And you begin to cook. And that process is called frying. So we fry chicken, okay? We fry fish, okay? We fry different vegetables, okay? What other things do you know that we fry? Okay? Okay, now this process here is called chopping, okay? Chopping. So when we take vegetables or anything and we make big chunks, okay? Big chunks, that's called chopping, okay? So chop, 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 okay? Chop, 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 chop. Right? It's called chopping, okay? So to cut into small pieces. As you see here, the vegetable is very big, and you're cutting it into smaller pieces. Okay, so if it's this big, you're cutting it into pieces maybe this big. Okay, that's called chopping. Chopping. All right. Now don't say shopping. Okay, it's chop, chop, chopping. Okay. Now this right here, as you see here, this process of preparing food is called grating. Okay, grate. Okay, grate. And this here is called a grater. Okay, this is called a grater. Okay, it's called a grater. All right, and basically what you do is you grate the food, and so it comes out like that. Okay? So it comes out just like that. And that's called grating. Okay? Grating. Okay? So grating is to use a grater to shred food. Okay? So we don't say grated carrots. We say shredded carrots. Okay? Shredded carrots. If you ever go to, let's say, a supermarket to buy mozzarella cheese, most likely they will say shredded mozzarella, shredded cheddar cheese. Okay? So this is called shredded, but this is called a grater. Okay? Got it? So this is shredded food, but this is called a grater, and the action is grating. Okay? Not shredding. Okay? You grate, and what you grate becomes shredded. Okay. This process here is another fun process for some people, where they take a knife and then they begin to take the skin off. Okay? And this here is what we call peel. Okay? Peel. Alright, so you can peel with a knife, or you can peel with your hand. Okay? So it's the process of removing the peel. Okay? This here is called peel. The outer skin of a fruit or vegetable is called peel. Okay? So the outer skin is called peel. Alright? Okay. Now, this right here is bread, right? But it's not yet bread. It is still what we call dough. Okay, so it's still dough at the moment, but this process here, or this action here, is called knead. Okay, knead. So you knead the dough. Okay, what kneading means is to flatten. So to make, if this here is the bread, this is the dough. Okay, to knead it means you're going to fold and flat. Okay, so fold and then flat. Okay, so fold and then flat. Okay, that's called kneading. Okay, where you're mixing it into itself and then you roll it out. Okay, so you knead the dough. Okay. So to work dough with the hands, always folding. To work dough with the hands, always folding. Okay. Now, we saw the word chop earlier, and that was to cut something into small pieces. But how about this? Do you see how small these pieces are? This here is what we call mincing. Okay? Mincing. Okay? Mincing. Normally we mince vegetables with a very strong taste. Okay? For example, garlic and onions. Onions make you cry. Okay? And garlic has a very strong taste and smell. Okay? So we normally mince it to make sure that the flavor spreads throughout all the foods. Okay, so mince. So to cut into very small pieces. So when you see someone cut it into very, very, very small pieces, that's called mincing. Mincing. Okay? Okay. Now, do you see what's happening here? Here we have a salad. Okay, here we have a salad, and they are mixing the salad together. Okay? They are mixing the salad together. This process here is called toss. Okay? So tossing the salad means to mix the salad. Okay? Tossing the salad means to mix the salad. Alright, so it means to gently mix a salad. Okay? The word toss comes like from the word throw. Okay? And the reason why is because you take 2 spoons and then you just lift it in the air gently so it begins to mix. Okay? That's called toss. So tossing a salad. Okay? Do you know what this device here is called? This here is an electronic device, and what we do with it is we cook inside of it. Okay? And this right here is called a microwave. Okay? A microwave. Okay, so to microwave something. So in some places where microwaves are very famous, you can cook a meal inside of it. So basically just put the food or something you wish to reheat. Okay? You put it inside the microwave, and then you just wait for 3 or 5 minutes, and it will be ready for you to eat. Okay? So to cook inside a microwave. Okay. This right here is what we call roast. Okay, roast. Now, the difference between baking and roasting is that baking, normally the fire will be from beneath. Okay, so in baking, the fire is normally from beneath it. But in roasting, there's fire from above and below. Okay, so above and below, we call that roasting. And that's how it gets that golden color, that brown color. Okay, because there's fire up top, and there's fire here, and the food is in the middle. Okay, so we call that roast. Okay, roast. Okay, so to cook in a covered pot, either on the stove or in the oven. So normally, if you keep the pressure covered the entire time, people also call that roasting. Okay, they also call that roasting. Okay, now this right here is another way of cooking, and most people who do this try to live a very healthy life. Okay, they want to live a very healthy life, and what this here is, they're using water, but it's not boiling. Why? Because the food never touches the water. So here is the water, and the food is right here. Okay? And so there's fire under the water, and then the water heats up, and then the water begins to make smoke. That smoke is called steam. Okay? That smoke is called steam. Okay? And then the steam cooks the food. Okay? So the steam cooks the food. So it's the water that's been heated, and then after the water's been heated, that smoke or that vapor that's coming up, that is what cooks the food. Okay? And we call that steam. Okay? Steam. Okay, so to cook using the heat from rising steam. So you contain something, and then you cook with that heat from the rising steam. That is what we call steaming. Okay, steaming. Okay. Now, do you remember when we said the word barbecue? Okay. We said barbecue, and then we said that when we put the barbecue in a tomato sauce, okay, and I said there's a word for it. Well, this here is that word. When you take your meat or whatever you want to cook and you put it inside a sauce. All right, so you put it inside a sauce, maybe a day or two, or maybe a few hours before you want to cook it, okay? This gives it a different taste, okay? And this here is called marinate. Marinate. Marinate, okay? Marinate. So this is a process that can be done, okay, to flavor the meat before you cook it. Because some people today cook food and it has no taste at all. And so when you marinate your food, you're able to taste the food. Okay, so to soak, especially meat, in a spiced liquid. Okay? So to soak, especially meat, in a soaked liquid, or in a spiced liquid. Okay, now here we have another way of cooking, okay? Do you see this bread here? Normal, right? Not a problem. But some people like to eat bread like this. So what do we call this type of bread? Even though it's the same as this, the only thing that's different is that we take butter and we put it on the bread and we put that in our frying pan before we eat it. And this is called toast. A toast. Toast. Okay? The word toast means to make lightly brown. To make lightly brown. That's the word toast. Okay? So to make lightly brown. Okay, now this one is a way of cooking that normally professionals use. Okay? Normally professionals will use. And this is what we call sear. Sear. Okay? Searing. Searing. Okay? That's something that we do when we wish to trap the juices inside of what we are cooking. Okay? So to drop food, usually meat, in a very, very hot pan to seal in juices. So when you sear food, when you cut it, the inside of it remains nice and juicy and tasty. Okay? It's not dry. So when you eat it, you don't no. You eat it and it has juice in it. Okay? It has juice inside of it. Okay. Now this right here is another one that's very important because without this means no cake. I love cake. Okay? This here is called blending. Okay? So to blend. To blend means to mix. Okay? To blend means to mix together. Okay? So to mix together until the consistency is the same throughout. Okay? So to mix together until the consistency is the same throughout. So what this here means that if you take something and you begin to mix, okay, until it's all the same, that right there is what you call blending. Okay? That is what you call blending. Alright, so we blend cake batter. So you take the cake, you take the eggs, and the flour, and the butter, and the sugar, okay, and then the milk. You have different consistencies. Something is smooth, something is thick, something is creamy, something is solid, and you mix together, mix, or we should say you blend, blend until it all becomes the same. Okay? All right. This right here is called, do you see this right here? Do you know what that is? This comes from bread. Okay? So you take the bread and then you toast it in the oven and then you break it into small pieces. Okay? You break it into very small pieces and then you use it to cover your different meats. Okay? And this right here is called to bread. Okay? So bread. Okay? It's not the same soft bread you eat, but because it comes from bread, this has now become a verb when we say to bread your chicken. Okay? I will bread my chicken, okay, tonight. I will bread the vegetables this morning. Okay? And then you begin to cook. Okay? So this is using to dip. Okay, so dip means to dip or roll food in a liquid. Okay, in a liquid. That liquid could be milk or maybe even eggs. Okay? And then bread crumbs. Bread crumbs until covered. So you see here how well covered the meat here is. Okay? This is what we call breading. Okay. Now this right here is another thing that people do a lot in the Middle East, as a matter of fact. Okay? It's one of their best ways of cooking. Okay? And this here is called to form. Okay, so to form. Okay, so if you are talking about making, let's say, some sambusa, okay, making some sambusa, and you are going to be forming them. Okay, so I will form my sambusa tonight. Then I will fry the dumplings in the morning. Okay, so you can use the word form as well as the way you'll be cooking it, which will be frying or maybe steaming. Okay, so that's so you know. Okay, so form means to mold. Mold means to make a shape and it stays like that. So as you see here, this shape is now permanent. It will stay like that forever.